Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer and today I'm gamesplaining Camel Up Cards. Last week I gamesplayed Camel Up, this week I'm gamesplaying Camel Up Cards. To start with, this game has not had as much table time as Camel Up. I'll be right up and honest about that. I think that Camel Up is a better game. That's me personally. Camel Up Cards, however, does have its place. So if you're in a location where you really want to play Camel Up but you don't have enough space, Camel Up Cards may well be worthwhile. Having said that, however, Camel Up Cards actually does take a lot of space on the table. So if you're trying to make this game work on a smaller table, smaller space, you may actually be in trouble with that. And you'll see that in the videos how it's all kind of fairly tight and tightly packed in to try and get inside the lens of the video. Camel Up Cards uses the basic system of Camel Up. It tries to fix some of the issues that Camel Up has previously had. So instead of rolling one die per camel, so each camel will get to move just the once, you're selecting cards, and you might select all cards from the same camel, and thus pushing that camel further forward. You also have the ability to kind of hold on to something and kind of only use it if you find it's absolutely necessary. On top of that, there's a card that will be turned over, so face up, so everyone will see what's going in. At least we'll see one card that each of the players is putting into the deck. The other thing that Camel Up Cards fixes is the length of the game. So the length of the game changes with the number of players. On top of that, if there's a card, so each card has two spaces on it, if there's one card that's not got a camel on it at all, that card is flipped over. So if it's in between the first and last camels. So what that does is it halves the length of distance, or if there's three spaces between this camel and this camel, it will turn one of those over and suddenly there's only two spaces. So it turns twos into ones, and thus allowing those back camels to catch up if the players at the table are wanting those camels to catch up. Quite often you'll find that the players at the table will be pushing forward the one or two camels so that they can make the right gamble on which camel will win. And if everyone's pushing that one forward, everyone's going to be going after the cards for that one. So there's a real balancing act, but within that you need to be aware of how many cards are actually available. You're not going to see all the cards. All the cards for each camel aren't going to come through each time. There are going to be cards that are left behind, not being used at all. I find that Camel Up Cards, while still using the same kind of ideas, and when you're playing the game it sits fairly similar to Camel Up, the playing with the card system, or more importantly explaining the system using cards, is actually not as straightforward, I find. I wonder if it's because it's really similar to Camel Up but not quite the same, that we tend to fall back into that location of explaining Camel Up and then go, oh no, this one's got to be a little bit different, change this. I wonder if it's that I've only played one game at a time, whereas and it doesn't sit as comfortably. So with some games I find that if I play them a couple of times in a row, or the same group plays them a couple of times in a row, the rules just lock in really quickly. This one has had a couple of plays, but there's been quite a vast space between each play. So each time I'm playing with people who haven't played this game before and are looking at it kind of from different perspectives each time, and they're not quite sure exactly how to take it. Even though they've played Camel Up, coming at Camel Up Cards, they kind of, I fear they have this similar input, I guess, as they have on Camel Up, whereas with this one you're actually able to manipulate each camel, and it actually gives a vastly different game. While still feeling similar, it actually gives a vastly different game. I find that the usage of the Oasis and the other side of that card in basic Camel Up has been replaced with a tree or a fox in Camel Up Cards. Doing the same thing, so they send the pile back one or they send the pile forward one, but you don't gain when anything falls on you. All it does is pushes it back or forward, and then that card goes back into the supply. So if you've put the card out and you're still hanging on to it, you're in the danger zone of losing money for that card sitting out there. This is a vastly different way of playing those cards, and so I find that in this game those cards don't get played anywhere near as much as they do in the base game of Camel Up, simply because there's a chance that you'll lose money, but there's no chance you're going to gain any money from it. What you will gain from it is pushing a stack forward or pulling a stack backwards if you're kind of working towards having one particular camel be the winning camel and one being the losing camel, that's a worthwhile thing to do. But you've still got a kind of a 1 in 1 in 2 chance, 1 in 1. You know, there's the +1 and the +2 cards. There's a chance that they'll hit that spot and get pushed back, but there's a chance that they'll stay out there and you'll lose money from it. So there's a negative on that one, rather than that one always being a positive, where I can put that out. Sure, I miss my turn, but I put that out and I might have the chance of actually gaining money for each camel that's steps on it. There's also some slight changes on the end of the game. So there's, at the beginning of a league, there has to be 3 spaces between where you're currently standing and the end of the race. As a minimum, so it can be more obviously, but as a minimum. So if you get really close to crossing with one of the camels, you're going to add extra length to the race. It feels strange. It kind of works, but it feels strange because I find that I have found previously in some games that extra length has been added and added and added, just because the person who's at the front or the people who have the cards aren't pushing that camel at the front forwards really fast, because they don't have the card that's going to get that camel to win. So they're holding those cards back in the hopes that they can get other camels up to it to overtake that one. That's one. It feels a little strange. The other thing is, you don't actually finish the leg. As soon as the camel finishes or crosses that line, that camel will win. Obviously, instead of camel on the back, that's the winning camel. Of course, it's the same system as the base game of whichever camel is on top is actually further ahead. But as soon as a camel crosses that line, game over. Game is done. Finished. I don't know. It feels like a game that wants to be the same as the tabletop full game that I did last week, but still has some differences, which, it makes it worthwhile having both. But for my money, Camel Up is a better game. Camel Up Cards, maybe if you don't have enough space, it's a game that doesn't come out anywhere near as much as Camel Up comes out. Comment below if you disagree with me. If you've played Camel Up Cards and you actually really, really love it, that's fine. You're allowed to love it. Comment below. Tell me why you love it. What is better about Camel Up Cards than Camel Up? But for me, Camel Up is a much better game. Camel Up Cards is it's an okay substitute, but not the best substitute in the world. I will tend to find that I'll fall into other games than to fall back on Camel Up Cards. I'll usually only bring that out once with each group, simply because might as well just play Camel Up. Okay, I'll leave it there. If you've got any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you wish to be Gamesplained, please shoot me an email at thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at thegamesplainer to see what games I've been playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.